Welcome to the Greater Pensacola Chamber Toddcast. On the Toddcast, Chamber President Todd Thomson talks to the leaders that are making a difference and driving the conversations that will impact our community. Now here's the Chamber President, Todd Thomson.
Welcome back to the Greater Pensacola Toddcast. I'm Todd Thomson, President and CEO of the Greater Pensacola Chamber of Commerce. And today on the Toddcast, we have a very special guest. It's Mayor Grover Robinson. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here. I'm probably the only Little League teammate that you've had right. On the Toddcast.
That is a fact. That is a fact. So for those who don't know, when Grover was growing up, his father was in the legislature, and he'd come over to Tallahassee, where I lived, and
played a lot of Little League there.
Played a lot of Little League
back
baseball.
then it was always in the spring. They had session in the spring, and I would go over there and go into class and play baseball. So I had my Tallahassee friends, my Pensacola friends. So who knew? Small world. We were going to end up here together.
Yeah, and so when I moved to Pensacola about 12 years ago, one of the first people I came to see was then County Commissioner Robinson, and it was right after the oil spill, and we had some interesting conversations. But you were very welcoming, and it was great to have a familiar face to meet
Listen,
with.
It's been awesome. I think you've since you've gotten here, you've been a great breath of fresh air for us in the chamber, and I just think you've done great things here, and really appreciate what you've done for our community. So we're glad to have you in Pensacola. Glad to steal you from Tallahassee. Tell John Daly that we got to get some good Tallahassee people over here. So
that's right. That's right. No, it's home now, and we got to make sure John wins his elections. It looks like it's going to be tight.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
That's the mayor of Tallahassee. He's a good friend of mine. He was a county commissioner for the same 12 years I was a county commissioner. We were mayors together, and he's decided he wants to keep doing this. So I'll let him take the abuse, but we'll see what happens.
Right. So let's talk about it. So you are finishing up your tenure as mayor. What are some of the things you're most proud of that you may be able to accomplish?
I think when you look at what we've been able to accomplish, one of the big things that we came into, we wanted to change culture, really focus on what we were doing and how we would provide better service, because I think that was key to what we want to achieve in the city of Pensacola. Mm-hmm. We got very involved in metrics, in what we've been doing with surveying. We've done our trying to get employee engagement, and we've moved from a score. Now, granted, we were the only public entity that was in there, but we started out at 40%, and now we're into the 67th percent.
Okay.
And so I think that really shows some of the things we've been able to focus on and do and change culture within the city and do that. I think we've built a great team. I think the team that you look over there, the directors, and what we've been able to achieve, we have some really good people over there.
Absolutely.
And I feel very good about the team that we have at the city of Pensacola. I tell people all the time, people think it's easy to say, yes, the things we do are not hard. What's hard is the fact that we do about 800 things at the same time.
Right.
So, you really got to have good people in all of those departments to do well, because it really is challenging doing so many things at one time. So in-house, I think those are the things I'm very proud of. Outside, looking out, some of the things we were able to accomplish, a huge one, I always say, public safety is the number one thing I think that people say they want to live in the city. They're willing to pay the extra taxes. I think Parks and Rec is the second one. I think the things that we've done for Parks and Rec and really the things we've done up at we've really invested in Legion Field and McGee Field and also Roger Scott at the Vickery Center. But really what we have now with Hitzman and bringing soccer there and able to separate what was happening, all the challenges, conflicts that we were having at Roger Scott, to bring them to Hitzman. And you see how that's just mushroomed. I mean, we're well over 1,000 kids playing soccer. They're expanding so far. I don't know what we're going to be able to do. And I mean, I think when you look at the things that have happened, Pensacola State starting a new girls soccer team, the SEC now bringing their soccer tournament to our city. It's great to see that sport grow as well. But we're successful in all those things. And then probably one of the things I'm most excited about is what we've been able to achieve in some of our enterprise. I think the port, when we got there, the port had been a number of years in the red. In fact, it had been fairly significantly in the red. We basically scrapped, and we said we weren't going to be like everybody else's port, and our goal was not to compete with everybody else's port. It was to do what was right for us. We've managed to put ourselves, and every year I've been here, we've been in the black. And I think this past year we had one of the most successful years we've ever had at the port. And we've been able to do this all at the same time that downtown has been just really blossoming and continuing to really set new peaks at both in terms of activity as well as pricing and value. So we've been able to show that you can have a port and have a successful downtown, the same thing. You may just not be doing it the traditional way. So we've done very well there. And I think really the shining star of all has been the Pensacola International Airport,
Right.
which now with the things we've done, we're actually becoming international. You were out there with the what we had with the Customs and Border Patrol. I think that building is allowing us to do so much on the small side airport, the fixed base operations on the east side. But it's a hop, skip, and a jump. I think when we do the new terminal and when you see what's happening right now, we have been so stressed. We've been maxed out everywhere,
Right.
expanding at the airport. We don't have any more counter space. We don't have any more gate space. And really, we've been pushing it in what we have. We need to expand. That's what we're working on. But when that expansion happens, I do think it's going to be very easy to move Customs and Border Patrol there and have real commercial international flights. We may not be going to Europe and Asia, but I think we'll be going to other places in North America and South America and the Caribbean. I think those are very likely destinations for us. And the airport has done incredibly well with ST. The things we've been growing there, we're going to become a bigger and bigger player in aviation. It's something it's been one of our target industries with the Chamber in Florida West for a long time. And for the first time ever, really, we are beginning to hit in those things and do well. Like I said before, we've really been doing well almost at everything we've been doing, which has been great. It's great to be there. And I'm excited about what we've been able to achieve in 4 years and been able to make a difference.
Right. It's been just incredible to watch the growth. We see it from just outside. You mentioned Palafox, how much it's grown, but everything is starting to sort of move. Garden Street
is
both directions. Yeah.
I think Garden Street, the things we've done and seen with East Garden, but even West Garden, the new apartment complex,
Right.
You're over here on West Garden. I think what's going to happen with West Garden during the next couple of years is going to be significant. But it's really good to see East Gardening going. And what we did some things last night with that new hotel coming in, I think really north of Garden for the first time, we've had some things happen north of Garden, but really, I think really seeing the same economic vitality that we've seen south of Garden, we're going to start spreading and seeing that north of Garden. Just what you said. Downtown's been good for a few years, but we've really been expanding the footprint. And I think that's the goal. I go from here. I'm going to talk about what's happening at IHMC. They're going to do the expansion on East Garden.
Right.
Everything that Chad Henderson at the hotel they've got going. It's great to see what's happening over there on East Garden. So downtown has been continuing to do well. It's what we want to see it continue to do well. I think it has so many things to offer both our residents and our tourists. For so long, we always talked about tourism was always about how do we do things at the beach, and it was the beach, the beach, the
Right.
beach. I think one of the things we've realized over the last 10 to 20 years is we have more tourism than just the beach, and we have the ability to sell downtown. And I think it's been very successful. And I think when you look at other communities like when we went to the Savannah and other places, we haven't even scratched the surface of what we can do downtown when you look at those kind of cities. And I think the stuff we've got with new hotels positioned to come into downtown really allows us to become much more like that. And I was out to dinner last night with some people that had just moved to Pensacola, and they were like, we were surprised that a city this size has so many great local restaurants.
Right.
I said, part of that is tourism. Tourism allows you to have more restaurants than usually your size of your community, especially if you're a small to medium-sized city. Tourism puts more people in there, and those are people who generally are going out to eat. So a lot of our hospitality industry is very dependent upon tourism, and I think when we see more tourism coming to the downtown with more hotels, it's only going to continue to accentuate what we've been able to do on the hospitality side.
Absolutely. I mean, I have friends who hadn't been to Pensacola in 15 or 20 years, and then when they come and they see what's happened downtown and they see the stadium, and I mean, they're like, yeah, we knew the beach was great, but we had no idea that you had all of these other amenities, and the restaurants are incredible, and there's just so many things that we have to showcase now.
Well, I'm telling Chad Henderson, the one thing I'm looking forward to is going up on that rooftop bar. So
yeah,
I know
everybody's excited
I know
about
everybody's
the
trying to get a
rooftop
rooftop. Yes, I know
Yeah.
everybody's working to get a rooftop bar, but I think that will be exciting too, and see what's going on. Talking about Tallahassee. Tallahassee has some really good rooftop bars.
Yes, that is true. That is true. So, 4 years as mayor probably feels like a bit longer than that.
It felt like 10 with COVID and hurricane and social justice. Yes, it felt like a lot.
And that's exactly where I was going. Hurricanes, we know. That's going to happen at some point. But COVID was just something. I don't know if anybody could have contemplated that and what would go into the really 2 years of recovery. And
well, I tell people all the time, they're like, what happened or what'd you do, whatever. And I said, well, I feel pretty good. We did this in 4 years, but I said, really, almost everything we achieved was really like achieving it in 2 years, because we basically lost 2 years to COVID. And we spent 2 years talking about COVID. And I think you saw a lot of people in local government really across the country decide that it just was an exhausting fight, and it was difficult to continue with it. I was very happy we were able to come through it. I felt like we could do the right things to protect our community, and I think every community did things different, but I felt like there were two things we needed to do. We needed to protect the community, but we also needed to think about how we position ourselves and keep ourselves as an economic viability, and we did that right away. We realized that the closure was something we couldn't do. We needed to find a way to keep open. I think Florida did a great job on that end. We very heavily advocated for being open. From our standpoint, before there were vaccines, we did advocate for masks. We didn't see any reason why you can't be able to do open business and do the mask while we didn't have a vaccine. Once we got the vaccine, it's much more pushing people to that. Obviously, we're through it now, and it's good to be through, but it's just a lot of challenges. I compare it. I went through the oil spill, which I think was significant in a lot of ways. In some ways, when it first started, it was just as scary because it was the uncertainty. We'd never done something like that. We didn't know what it was going to do. So it was a lot of uncertainty. But the challenge that I really found that was so different was when we had the oil spill, really the community kind of rallied around, and everybody came together, and we began to fight the oil. With COVID, it was just like you couldn't get any unifying position. Right. You couldn't find any position that you could get people to rally behind, and it was just that made it very difficult. The politics of it, it was just sort of an unfortunate sidebar. But I think ultimately we figured out the right thing to do. I feel very thankful for the health community that we have here, and the advice they were able to provide. They certainly were heroes. I know y'all focused them very prominently with the awards, PACE Awards.
PACE Award, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it was the right thing to do. They were amazing during that time and really helping us get through it, and I certainly appreciate everything there. But it was a very big challenge, and then in the middle of that, to have two issues that went on, certainly there was a social justice side, and I think we were already beginning to work in some things that we realized that we needed to do better. Much of the sense in what we've done in our history and culture and been focused on since I've been at the city has been, how do we tell all the stories? We've been real good about telling some of the stories, and we're going to continue to tell those stories. But we have a lot of other stories. We have a lot of other history that we haven't talked about. And I think that came out in the feelings of what we needed to do. We needed to be more proactive. I think we very much listened. We positioned and changed some things about the way the Pensacola Police Department works. We changed some different things, and I feel like it's put us in a much better place. I feel very good about public safety in the city of Pensacola and what we've been able to do and position ourselves with Chief Randall and his team. I think they do an excellent job. So we went through all of that. And then, of course, on top of all that, you get a hurricane. Now, like you said, you were used to having hurricanes. But how often have we had hurricanes that ended up tearing out the connection we have on 98 with the bridge, the beach and Gulf Breeze?
Right.
And that was a whole thing that, no one had really ever gone through. I mean, I guess we had the thing long ago when a barge ran into it, but even that didn't take as long as this took to get the bridge back established. Just the challenges of working with FEMA during COVID made everything a little bit longer. It's been 2 years, and we're just now finishing up some of our projects along the waterfront.
All right.
And we kept trying to tell people it's just the patience. So unfortunately, it's just been very challenging going through. But at the end of the day, we've gotten it all done. We're about to be opening Plaza de Luna back. I think the measures we've taken to really take the things, the fountains and the splash pad, and get those things out of the ground where they kept getting ruined by salt water, and getting them above the ground in the new pump house is going to be significant for us to be able to continue to have those things, but also make sure they're not destroyed with the next storm. So I think in Florida, clearly after we saw with Ian, you just got to be constantly vigilant about how you position the community. The other part that I say, again, we went through 2014 storm, but we had, again, about 20 inches during Sally. And in many places, I don't know anywhere. I mean, even some of the things that happened with Ian didn't see those kind of totals. And we were able to be much better than we were in the 14 flood. And I think it was because of the things that we've done. Our staff is very focused. We got 3 projects dealing with stormwater that came out of ARPA, which was the money we got for dealing with COVID, and so the American Recovery Act money. So, I'm optimistic even through these challenges we've come through. That's the part that was interesting to me. I've been a lot of places since 2020 within our country, and you see communities that have not done well coming out of COVID, and I feel like we've done very well. And I feel like the other thing is I saw this early on that some people were going to say, I don't have to be in a big city anymore. I can do what I need to do and could be in a medium-sized city or a smaller community where I have less exposure. My employees are less exposed to some of these problems. And I think that is very well positioned places like Pensacola to do very well. And I think the future is incredibly bright for our city.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. And I can tell you just throughout COVID, we were getting calls from all over the country, people who wanted to be here because of what they went through in their communities. And, we send out these relocation packets, and we send out multiple, packets every week because we have people still calling to this day that they want to be here because of what's happening. And it's really been, a group effort, private industry, but also, help from local government to make these things happen.
So, I think those are things that I'm most proud of is it'd be one thing just to have accomplished all of this and everything be sunshine and rainbows, but we really accomplished a lot of this stuff to position the community in a much better place during some of the most adversity you could face.
Yeah.
And so, that's where I'm really proud of the team we have over there. They've done a great job. We got great people, and we've let them go do great things.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've had a great deal of experience in local government. 12 years as county commissioner, 4 years as mayor. Talk about what you've seen over that period of time, how things have changed and evolved in terms of how local government has worked here.
There is a lot of change. There's obviously a lot of change in our community, and I think we just talked about some of the success, but that success has been going on since I came in 2006. I came in on the heels of Ivan. There's very much a concern that we were stagnating as a community. We weren't really reaching our potential, and I love when I talked to the other day when we gave a key to the city to Quint Studer, and he talked about potential. He said, potential is code word for we're not winning.
Yeah.
And so that's so true. And we could see that. We knew that we weren't winning as a community. I decided to run in 2006. I thought we could do some better things. I think we really positioned at the county. I feel like we positioned the county and we've done very well in those things. I feel like now at the city we've done some of the same things, and I feel very good about the changes we've had. But there's, certainly the downtown vibrancy, the ballpark, things like Navy Federal, ST, and a variety of other things are things that you notice and see here. But there are other things that sometimes maybe are less prevalent. And I think some of the stuff that we have, the new amenities we have along the waterfront, the stuff we have Plaza de Luna, some of the other things that are there, there are significantly more for people to do. And I think that, as you know, quality of place is all about trying to establish those things that are right for your community. If you do that for your community, you'll succeed both in tourism and in economic development, because other people, like you said, they'll keep calling up here saying, I want to be a part of Pensacola. Mm-hmm. What's going on? And I think winning does that. I think people want to go to winning communities. They're having success. People feel good about that, and it's kind of that whole winning is becomes its own cure for a lot of those things. So those were exciting. There are obviously challenges we see too. I think one of those is that I think why I feel like it's time for me to move on and somebody else to be here is I think local government politics has changed dramatically, and I don't know that it's always been for the better. I think there were challenges at the national, and then over time while I was there, I saw things happen at the state. But for the most part, local government was kind of immune from those things. I mean, I don't know if it's coming out of COVID and this whole just nature of conflict that people want to be in. But, I think conflict for conflict's sake doesn't really move us forward. I think if there's an objective, we can have disagreements, we can have disputes. I think those can be healthy if handled the right way. But the fact of just taking contrary positions just to be contrary, I don't think moves the community forward. And those are things that concern me, but are also things where I'm like, man, I'm just tired. I've done it for 16 years. Right. I've enjoyed it, but maybe it's time for somebody else to come in and do things. And I think you need new blood every now and then. You need to reinvigorate and for me, my fund meter had gotten sort of pegged out after 16 years. But I do think it was 16 years where we made a lot of positive changes for this community. We did some great stuff, and I'm very proud of what we were able to achieve, both at the county and the city. I mean, when I look at the tourism numbers, where we went from 2006, we were at a position where we were envious of everybody else, and we didn't know what we wanted to be. And I look at where we are today, and we're setting records every day in our tourism and what's going on. And that leads to the people come here, they see it, they say, God, it's a great place. I would love to live here. I'd love to do my business here. One of the companies we were very excited about getting, the blood company, Cyclogene, at down here on Garden, that came in. They really could have been anywhere. They really were looking in South Florida. They weren't so much looking at North Florida, but it was kind of a case of the owner of the company had been to Pensacola, it was in Birmingham, had been much closer to come here, came here and was just really impressed by who we were, and that's how the discussions started. And it was a good friend of mine that worked for that company, and we talked with the owner, and they decided to expand here. And I think it shows that's really kind of the first time we've had that sort of medical technology here. And I think it just shows what we can do. We've always known we could do cybersecurity. I think we can do biomedical tech here, and that just proves it. So it's always hardest getting that first one. Right. But once you get that and you show what you can do, I think Pensacola, again, the sky's the limit for us and what we do.
No. And it's diversifying the economy, which is great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we love tourism, but not everything can be hospitality and tourism. We got to have something else to do. And we saw that during the oil spill, that if you're a diversified economy, you can change. And, I think there are lots of things that we're doing. I think what's been happening at Navy Federal, I think what happened with ST, those were two huge successes that really also kind of helped diversify our economy away from what we traditionally were.
Right. So, I mean, you touched on this. So, we've got a mayor-elect who will be coming in about a month, and you're already working with him and his team, with your team, on that transition. Talk about that a little bit and how that's going.
Yeah, I mean, we immediately brought, once we knew we had somebody who was going to be in the mayor-elect status, we immediately brought them in and began to introduce them to what's going on. I mean, I kind of laughed. People were like, "Well, this is." I said, "Well, why wouldn't you do this?" I said, "I live here. I continue to be a resident, have investments here. I want this town to be as successful. So I want the next mayor to be as successful as he can. I have a vested interest in making sure he's successful because I want this community to be successful." So, we worked very hard to kind of show him what we're doing. Well, he'll do different things. He'll do things differently than I do, and that's fine. And he'll figure that out. But we kind of at least wanted to show him what we're doing, what we're good at, and so he can find out from there and tailor his message and what he wants to do. And I think it's been good. We got him an office and a phone down there immediately, and brought him in and began to show him what we're doing and let him go from there. So I think it's been real good. Trying to pull him up to speed. I think it's also good getting him to know the people who are there working, and give him a chance to see them actually what they do every day.
Right.
I mean, I think that was I knew we did a lot of stuff, and I knew it was significant, but I didn't really realize how much stuff we did until I got there and started working in it. So I think sometimes you run on these things, you get elected, stuff about certain parts, but you don't understand how the whole thing works.
Right.
And once you see how massive it is, it's an 800 person, outfit. And I came from small business where I had maybe one other agent and a secretary, and a 3-person office, to an 800 person office was a significant increase. So I think those are good. And I think, certainly he has some business experience running some things, perfect playing in the well. But, I don't know that he had that kind of experience. So it's good to bring him in, show him what's going on. He's very good, has good skills already. And I'm confident he'll do a great job for our community.
Mm-hmm. Now, and him to have this opportunity to kind of get a head start, didn't have to wait until middle of November to get sworn in, and that's great.
I think it'll be very positive from the city's perspective going forward, and I think it will be good for the team. They're working it, and I want to see good things continue for our city.
Right. So one thing you hadn't mentioned, another project that I know you're proud of, is the Bruce Beach.
Yeah,
project.
Yeah. I hadn't mentioned as many things. That was one as well that we're very happy with, and some of the things I talked a little bit about the amenities that were downtown, and we've been able to get obviously the Maritime Park, not just the baseball stadium, but the whole waterfront. But having Bruce Beach, I think, is going to be a real addition. And the fact that we just last night moved some money around to we're going to be able to now finish off phase 2 of that project. And so I'm very excited about what happened last night at the CRA to begin to move phase 2 of that. That will be good. That'll get the restrooms, the improvements on the entrance there at Quill Street. So that's going to be significant in what it's going to do for continuing on the waterfront. It really is truly the only beach that we have in the downtown area. And then it was historically the beach for African Americans, and we're going to take that and show that history and culture and provide that a little bit better way so that everyone sees how that space was used and gains a better appreciation for it. But I think all those things will be very positive. Very excited about what Bruce Beach is.
Any other projects? Because it takes a while for the projects to get approved, and then the process. Anything else is in the pipeline?
Well, obviously we've got a few. I know. When you look at economic development, I think there's some things that we're obviously doing. The big one we'd like to see happen both in terms of people and economic development is lots 4 and 5 at the Maritime Park. I also think that will springboard into the rest of the lots. One of those lots is going to be another hotel. Like I said, we just got one that's under construction right now by Gulf Power. We get the hotel on Jefferson and hopefully the hotel on the water. I think with those hotels and the one that the port property is looking at, that's 4 new hotels that I think will really continue to bolster our downtown. The new apartments that are here on Garden, if we get the apartments done on 4 and 5, I think that will also continue to bring more people into the downtown area, and really you'll see more vibrancy and more growth. So those are things we're very excited about, and I think after it's taken us a long time to get to where we are, but I think ultimately it will provide us probably a better product and a more viable product that will work financially. So I think that's going to be good. Obviously, when you talk again economic development and the things that we've done, I feel very good about. We're finishing up hangar number 2 for ST, and we have still hangar 3 and 4, which because of rising cost, they're not going to be separate hangars. It's going to be one hangar that's going to have a sort of partition in the middle of it, but they're kind of going to go together. But when those hangars get built, and you have basically 3 times the amount of hangar space we have out there right now, and they already have both some freight contracts that they've got, like the one right now, the existing one was used. They partner with UPS, but they have some of that. But they also have passenger, and I think that's gonna be very very important in working the way for the airport going forward. I think it's going to be a very much of a catalytic win-win for the airport as those things continue to come online. And really the thing that most excites me about that is the jobs are nice, the buildings are nice. I mean, those are things that will be here and they'll provide benefit, and the benefit it provides to the airport and the ability for us to be able to travel to more cities. All of that's very positive. But one of the things I'm most excited about is really the connection with learning that's going to be there. They're looking at working with Pensacola State to really do the training for aviation here, and if we have the ability to make that happen here in Northwest Florida and Pensacola, and we start training the number of people, because they're going to need, between themselves and Leonardo over in Santa Rosa County, they're going to need 300 people a year coming through there. When you think about those kind of numbers, that's like a small college in itself producing, and it's not 4-year graduates. It's faster turnaround. And so if we become the center for that, we're going to do 2 things. We're going to help our own people because we certainly realize there's a number of places here where we've experienced generational poverty for a long time. The only way to break out of generational poverty is education and training. And I think the school board and everything does a great job on figuring out, but not everybody can be a lawyer or a doctor or something else. I mean, there are people, and one of the things we've challenged in this country is we've lost a lot of those assembly and manufacturing jobs, and I think this is really that same opportunity that we have. So sort of that vocational workforce training that's going to be there, and if we're able to do that and be the sort of the center for that, it's going to be very good for Pensacola, because if you attract and you create talent, you will find businesses to come here, because they can't get enough talented people. And if you create talented people here in Pensacola, they're going to come here. So very excited about what that means for the community going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, lots of great stuff happening, and it just continues. I mean, it's wonderful to see.
Well, that's one of the great things about winning. It begets more winning.
Right.
So I think that's the hard part. It's that getting that first victory. When you asked me earlier about the county, some of the things, I think one of the things I'm most proud about, because I was very much involved with it, was when we were able to make. I was involved with when I came in 2006. Navy Federal had been there with one office. We've worked with them to finish out the rest of the. What was it? It was called the something Oaks back then. The the park, the industrial park, but we helped them finish out that, and that was great. We thought, man, this is going to be as good as we could ever imagine. We never imagined that there would be an opportunity to grow that mission by probably 4 or 5 times with what we were able to do. And I was on the board when we did that. It was tremendously successful. I think it's been very successful for Navy Federal. It was very successful for our community, and that was further diversification that we were able to do. Achieve that work. I was there from the very beginning when we had to work with 4-H. And I would go talk to people, and they would be, "Is our whole economic is depending on the vote of elementary and middle school students?" I was like, to a degree it is, but I said they're going to make the right thing. And I think when you look at what those kids did, I think you can't. That was amazing that we worked hard to show what we really could do. Incredibly helpful to 4-H. They are in a better place than they were. I realized the history of that location. It was somewhat, and some people had difficulty, emotional difficulty letting go. But what they have now is so much better. Their product and what they have is better. They have a great endowment opportunity to really, for kids that want to try agricultural pursuits and those things, it worked out much better for them, and it worked out so much better for our community because having Navy Federal out there and what they mean to our community and having that kind of a company here with such a large presence has been very important to us. So very excited about what they bring to the community, and they've been they've been such a great partner for us to have in this city. We just did 2 of our United Way Day of Caring. We had about 6 or 7 that city employees did. I went to all of them, but 2 of them we were working with Navy Federal, and they had just as many people out as we did. It was very impressive to see and to have that kind of a good corporate citizen who's a part of our community. It's great, and I think that was one of the things I was most proud of being able to achieve when we were able to make that happen, and it's turned out incredibly well for our community.
Absolutely, yeah, they've been great community partners, great supporters. Education, kids issues, those sorts of things, and obviously our military, very strong advocates and proponents of.
Absolutely, and I think you can't. Again, it's sort of one of those base industries that we can't forget about. The military is incredible for this community, and we don't realize sometimes what it means. But you talk about producing talent. When we're in the educational side and you go out there and see the different commands on the base and see what they do, they produce incredible talent, incredible culture for a lot of our young people that really thank God they do what they do. They sacrifice so the rest of us enjoy the freedom we have. But it's also very good that they get to come here and experience this community. And a lot of them decide they want to come back here to this community. And so, that's always been something good for us, the connection that we have with the Navy. Certainly we have great, when you look at people like, Keith Hoskins, Tim Kinsella, when you look at some of the leadership that's come through and continued to stay here and be a part of this community, that's lagniappe. I mean, that's that's the icing on top. You get that as well. And some really great people that we have in this community that the Navy brings forward, some of their best and brightest leaders, and the fact that they choose to make our community home and really work on things in our community makes it only better. So very proud of what we've been able to do with the Navy, and I always loved what Captain Kinsella used to say. He said, "Hey, as the base goes, so goes the city. As the city goes, so goes the base." So we're very much linked together, and very proud of the mission they continue to provide out there at Pensacola and NAS.
Absolutely, very true. So we've talked a lot about your service, the last 16 years. So. Any announcements about what's happening in the future? Are you still keeping that under wraps, working on it?
Again, I could always go back and do real estate, and I've done some things, and we've been successful. We had some developments. I could go back and do some of that stuff, and we'll continue to do some stuff in real estate. Was very happy to get through 2008 and that whole period. And everybody, all the banks got paid off, and it's ended up being successful. But that was a fun period to go through. That's what sometimes happens when people always say, "Oh, development's not easy. It's a challenging process to go through. But I've enjoyed that. But I've also enjoyed doing different other parts, and I've certainly enjoyed community service. My family has a long history here. We've been here for almost 200 years, since it was a territory. For me, this is home. This is a special place, and I love it. And if there's opportunities to do something out there, and continuing to do work that helps the community move forward, I'm absolutely open to that too. So I don't really know exactly what I want to do, but I've enjoyed it. Real estate's been very good to me. I've enjoyed that. I could go back and do that, but at the same time, I think if there were opportunities for me to do something and continue to help the community, I'd love to do that. I tell people all the time, I'm not adverse, or I'm happy to do public service. I don't know that I want to do elected office. Yeah. But I definitely enjoy public service. I enjoy this community, and if there are things I can do to help the community be a better place, I definitely am interested in those things and what I want to do. So, trying to figure out still what I want to do. I feel like I tell my kids all the time about they're trying to figure out what they want to do. I said, "Don't worry." I said, "I still haven't figured out what I want to do."
Yeah, right.
I'm 52 years old, and still trying to find that out.
Yep. Well, I know exactly what you mean. Well, as we kind of wrap up, anything else you want to share as we close?
No. I just kind of want to say again, thank you for what the chamber means in so many ways. My personal development, I moved back here in 95. I was 25 years old. Was working with AmSouth Bank back then. Got very involved with the chamber on some things. Was able to be on the chamber board at the age of 29. It was a great learning opportunity. Leadership Pensacola in 98. I did that at the age of 28. It was great leadership skills for me. So the chamber has been a great institution for myself. My grandfather was president of the chamber in 1966. Got a lot of connection to the Pensacola Chamber, and I think it is a great institution that helps our community, our businesses, helps our leadership skills. So many things that you guys do are just very impressive for our community, and appreciate what you guys do, and especially what you've done leading. I think you've been a great leader for this organization and helping it move forward. And I think all of us have learned, we got to change and be different. I think the chamber over that time has had a significant change. I mean, tourism has moved out, but I think those things were the right decision for the community, and you can't argue with what the numbers show tourism being. But I think at the same time, the chamber has adapted, found new things to do, and found ways to still be successful in what it does to help the city of Pensacola. So, I think talk about coming through adversity, change, and other stuff. I mean, the chamber is certainly an example of that, and continues to do great things for our community. So thank you for that.
No, absolutely. Thank you for those kind words, and really appreciate your leadership in this community. I mean, 16 years as an elected official, you've seen it all. I mean, and you touched on, from Hurricane Ivan to the financial crisis of 2008 when everything went bad, to the oil spill, to the flood, to Sally, to COVID, all of that. I mean, we are such a resilient community, and you've been in the middle of it.
I will say that one thing about Pensacola, it really is resilient. We have been through a lot, but I laughed. I said, when the Quint Studer's always the one that says everything in Pensacola feels like a breech birth, and in some ways it is.
Right.
We sometimes make things more challenging for ourselves, but at the end of the day, there is a lot of resiliency in this community. And I was teasing him at the same time. I said, it was right after we had lost the first game when they were in the championship with Tennessee. They lost the home game, which is the game you really want. And then you have to go on the road and win two more. I said, don't worry. I said Pensacola wouldn't do it any other way. I mean, like the Argos, we won the championship. Right. We went all the games on the road and then won the championship. I think there is something about this community that's great. The resiliency, it gets dished out a lot of challenges, and one way or another we find a way to work through them. And so I am very proud to come from a community that really does have some resiliency in what it does, and perseverance. And I think that builds character and and good things. And I think it's been one of the things that you all those people that have come here have learned what it means to go through it, and it's one of the things that sort of is an attribute of our community. Sometimes I'm like the Mother Teresa prayer where she says, well, I wish God didn't trust me so much, but it really wouldn't be any other way for our community. I mean, we were founded right after a hurricane and other stuff, so it just seems like it's the way we do things challenging. But this community has great people that persevere through great odds to continue to do great things, and that's what's special about Pensacola. And it really is. You could have this weather, you could have these views, but if you didn't have the people, it wouldn't be the same. So
Absolutely.
This is a great community because we have great people, and it's been good. It's got a lot of people that have deep roots here, but it also has a lot of people that come from the outside and they make this community better. And I think the way that melds, I think, is really special in Pensacola, and really there aren't a lot of communities that have that.
Right. No, we are definitely blessed. Mayor Grover Robinson, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for your time. Best of luck in all of your future endeavors. And I know we're going to see you all around town, still involved.
I'll be out there, so give me a call. I know
Yeah.
I've done enough stuff. I still want to be helpful and help out. I mean, those are things I still want to accomplish and see great things happen for this community. But at some point, I think it's always good to get new blood in, and I'm confident that the new mayor and the new team he puts together as council, they're going to do great things. I'm confident of that. I'm excited. I love to see what the commission's doing good things. I think this whole region is doing well, and whatever we can do to continue to promote Northwest Florida, I think we got great days ahead of us.
Absolutely. Right. Well, really appreciate it, Mayor Grover Robinson, for joining us on the Toddcast.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Toddcast. To learn more, check out the Greater Pensacola Chamber's Facebook page and follow us on Twitter at ToddcastPCola. That's Toddcast, letter P, colon. We hope you join us again next time on the Toddcast.